Richard McCormick in 1984, and a manual-type commentary by Orville Greasy in 1987. The essays from Kelly's booklets were arranged topically to follow the sequence of directives in the second and revised edition of the ERD and published in 1958. Kelly was largely responsible for authoring the 1949 and 1956 editions of the ERD, and his booklets are more an explanation of the directives than a critical analysis. McCormick's text is a commentary on ethical guidelines for Catholic healthcare institutions, itself a proposal by Catholic theologians, healthcare professionals, and ethicists who responded to the invitation from the 1971 Ethical and Religious Directives for Catholic Health Facilities to revise the ERD in light of scientific and theological developments. McCormick's text focuses on anthropological, ethical, methodological, and ecclesiological developments at the Second Vatican Council and its aftermath that mark a fundamental transition in Catholic theological ethics. Greasy began his text with a helpful historical overview of the ERD and focused on 9 principles that explain and justify the directives and provide a manualistic guide to pastoral and moral practices in Catholic hospitals. We believe it is important to contribute a critical analysis of the most recent edition of the ERD, which is in large part a repetition of the 2001 and 2009 editions, for several reasons. We find the 2018 edition of the ERD problematic anthropologically, methodologically, ecclesiologically, and pastorally, as well as specifically in its attempt to navigate mergers between Catholic and non-Catholic institutions. Anthropologically, it continues to prioritize a biological over a relational ontology as the foundation for its norms and principles guiding healthcare, despite the relational shift in Catholic theological ethics since the Second Vatican Council. Methodologically, it has not incorporated recent developments in Catholic theological ethics that have shifted from an act-centered to a virtue-centered method. The focus in the ERD, especially with respect to the beginning and the end of life, continues to be on absolute norms that prescribe particular acts. There is also a deficit in the consideration of Catholic social teaching and its integration with Catholic sexual teaching. The broadening of Catholic social teaching and its concerns with race, immigration, refugees, economics, global health, and artificial intelligence evidence the too narrow vision of the ERD and the need to expand it to address the issues and complexity of healthcare ethics thoughtfully and comprehensively. Catholic social and sexual teachings reflect very different methodologies that demand integration in healthcare ethics. Ecclesiologically, past editions of the ERD focus on patient, physician, and institutional obedience to magisterial teaching and on the authority of local bishops to make decisions regarding the interpretation and application of the ERD. The 6th edition strengthens the role of the local bishop in making those decisions. We believe the emphases on the authority of and obedience to the local bishop raise some important ecclesiological questions. First, the emphasis in the ERD is on the local bishop and his authority in his diocese. The bishop certainly does have teaching authority ecclesially and canonically. But how this authority is exercised in healthcare ethics, policy, and delivery raises ecclesiological concerns. The authority of the bishop emphasized in the ERD too often represents a pre-Second Vatican Council hierarchical ecclesiology that the Council replaced with a communion ecclesiology. There is a very narrow recognition of a communion ecclesiology in the ERD. Its perspective is guided predominantly by a hierarchical ecclesiology. Second, there is no consideration of or appreciation for the sensus fidelium as an essential dimension of a communion ecclesiology.